Most entries are single robots. But in this innovative approach, two small robots find the rooms under the direction of the central planning computer. They use a system like the internet to talk to each other. At least that's the theory.
It doesn't look like he's got the right plan. It's just more than twice as hard to do two robots, because you have to coordinate them and communicate between them. But it's
Early on, the pace is set by Kansas State. Throughout the contest, the judges will demonstrate that confidence in one was missing.
How did he know that there were people there? So this is one of the teams that's using the camera to follow motion. And basically, in successive frames of the camera, they'll see a change. You can detect that there must be something around as they're moving.
Rows of sonar rangefinders are used by all the robots to sense their surroundings. Not hitting obstacles is the contest requirement.
What if it had stopped? He came very close.
Kansas State races through the foyer, finds Congress Room 2, sets up the meeting time, and alerts the professors.
The meeting will begin 2 minutes and 31 seconds. 2 minutes, 31 seconds. I have done that for the director's office.
The final arrival is perfectly timed.
Excuse me, director. The meeting will be in conference room 2. The meeting is scheduled to take place in 1 minute.
They have the fastest time of any one robot entry, 5 minutes and 25 seconds, and they have maximum possible points, 295 points. So give them a large round of applause.
The only way to beat this score is with speed. There's a 50-point bonus for fastest run. On Yoda, the cameras are not working.
Conference room 1. The next landmark after I start moving.
Found the landmark.
This robot has multiple personality disorder. Every time it talks, it's got a different voice.
To detect motion, Yoda has to entice people within range of his sonar.
Oh, thank you.
So far, this is my personal favorite. Yoda also makes a flawless round.
The meeting starts in 1 minute.
Perfect timing, too. But Yoda took twice as long as Kansas State. SRI's multi-robots strategy is the greatest speed potential, simply because two traveling robots can get done in half the time. One moves out to check conference room 1, while Fred heads immediately to conference room 2.
He's placing right by the
SRI is prepared to take a 10-point penalty for demanding red shorts on the judge. It's easier for the kids to detect.
Was it totally cool of you to first go to the conference room and then the professor's room? You're supposed to go to the conference room and check it, and then check that.
At the same time, Greg has discovered the conference room 2 screen. Both robots now talk to the central computer, which sets the meeting time and sends each robot to a different professor's office. Nobody gets lost, and the total time is less than half of Kansas State's.
It's over now. They're here. And the time is incredible. It's amazing.
Poor old Amelia is off to a bad start.
One of the software programs crashed. Something that never happened to us before.
Is that it now?
Oh, we're going to restart.
How many times does the competition allow you to restart?
I think you can do it as many times as you want, and you get points deducted each time you restart. It's just a phase really beat your head.
Once restarted, Amelia is fine the first time, and she heads cruising through the corner. It looks like the same traveling chemicals. But with overnight software changes, Amelia can now recover if she gets lost.
Amelia is headstrong. Come back. You're going too far.
She gets out of the foyer and slowly figures out where she is.
Turn left. That process was really fascinating. Everything was like thinking practice.
But it's all too much for her. She crashes for the second and last time. With their time bonus, SRI's multiple robots came first. But that's not really the point. Pushing the state of the art is what counts. And by that measure, everybody won. It's hard to say where research like this will lead, but this can give you an idea. Many machines can be hard for people to handle, especially if you're new at it.
I'm not trying to do this. I swear, I'm not trying to crash. Ow!
Now look at this. Same wheelchair, but with a robot navigator added.
It won't let me race as fast as I went before.
Right.
But it's
Well, part of it's that this is a crowded environment, and it reduces the speed in proportion to how crowded its surroundings are.
yeah. I'm driving as wildly as I did before, but it's not letting me.
Based directly on the systems in the contest, it's a first glimpse into a world with robots where humans and smart machines cooperate. For the second contest, it's another deceptively simple task. Find 10 tennis balls spread around the court, pick them up, put them in the corner. Precise but slow-moving machines like this will have a hard time because there's a 10-minute time limit. Plus, a couple of moving squiggle balls for extra bonus.
Hand-eye coordination is an intelligent thing, and if you can get the robots to do that, you're advancing the state of the art.
You can pick up trash at a butter desk or something like that, maneuver around various objects at your desk.
So if you said, while you're at it, catch my 2-year-old, forget it.
Small action robots are the favorites of this contest. Here, the Walleye team has opted to paint the balls robot's flat so its black and white camera can see them. There's a 20-point penalty, though. In a couple of minutes, the first load is delivered. And
Looks like it just went down.
you just know it's going to crash at the worst possible minute. Restart, and then try again.
Alright, we're ready to start up again.
Right off the bat, the Walleye grabs and captures a moving squiggle worth 50 points. Then another crash.
Happened in practice, so I know what's going on here.
At the second restart, the team leaves the balls in the grippers. But after restarting, the robot thinks it has to start looking again. It's not smart enough to know it's already loaded up.
This machine is a glutton.
As it grabs its sixth ball, it finally reaches overload and stops for good. This robot is based on a powerful carrying platform used in hospitals. It efficiently gathers tennis balls, but it's too slow to get squiggle balls. In a piece of luck, it runs into one by accident. Then, against all odds, the second squiggle ball runs into the collectibles camera. Accidents are not as worth points. Next up, a robot using a powerful combination of a systematic surgeon camera with a TV camera ball spotter. Amazingly, first off, there's another lucky squiggle in view. And then, yet another thing. It's annoying for the team because their efficient machine can track and catch squiggle balls on its own. And it has a special strategy for those hard-to-get balls placed along the edge by the judges. It's an almost perfect score.
So now it's going to try to find any more. The same pattern? Yeah. Because the tennis game could go on. Like if you do balls. You mean you picture somebody playing tennis in the middle of this with this thing rolling around in the air?
They save the best for last.
Right, there it goes, there it goes. Whoa!
It's the most entertaining.
So the robot, in fact, with its camera, can see about halfway through the range.
This little guy really seems alive. That by a super fast color vision system chasing down the squiggle ball is like a cat chasing a mouse. What seems like a victory dance is actually a quick search for the dumping corner, now too far for the robot to see. So it decides to follow the wall all the way around. After delivering the first squiggle ball, it quickly spots another one. It's single-minded, throwing a low-value tennis ball into the wall. Robot makes quick work of finding the two tennis balls. Then it's faced with a serious problem. There's just one ball left, but it's in the dead center of the court, just out of range of the robot's camera. A camera that the team had to angle downward to avoid the glare of the convention hall's lights.
It's going to miss it.
The ball is exactly where it has to be, so it can't be seen by that field of view from around the walls. That's a singularity. It just happens to be just exactly the right combination of circumstances to beat this machine.
The rotation.
Until, that is, the robot turns in a slightly different place. It was artificial intelligence, or AI, as the scientists say, but it sure seemed alive.
There's something about these robots.
It's true, you know, when that machine caught that tennis ball today, at the last second when I didn't think it was going to get it, and it did it, it was like Rocky. I was cheering for it. The combination of AI and a machine that almost seemed to have a human will. It It's exciting, and that alone can make people, I think, want to do more in both these fields.
Robotics and artificial intelligence are the two frontiers of computer science. It's got to be the robot
Hello, Cybot.
Would you like to drink?
Yes, please. So, you here for the whole convention?
I guess this has to be one of the strangest things I've ever taken around. Nobody seems to be in charge.
It's driving itself now.
It's driving itself home and it comes to steering with
How does it know where you're going?
I designated the north one so that vehicles are better.
The whole point that Marshall was chosen cannot be reached around it. There are obstacles. Using pictures instead of TV cameras, the onboard system generates height and position information from the terrain ahead, decides which features are too big to be ignored, and then plots a course around them. This is one of a long series of experiments to develop autonomous vehicles that can get around on their own. The work has been continuing for more than a decade at Carnegie Mellon University in Pittsburgh, directed by Chuck Thorpe.
How did everything change when you went to this next one?
When we were working on this one, we were thinking a lot about driving in hazardous environments, and our picture of hazardous environments was really military environments. But we started to realize that the highways are pretty hazardous environments too. We still kill 40,000 people per year in the U.S. on the highways.
This is their fifth generation of autonomous vehicles. It uses a simple personal computer hooked into a radar rangefinder for detecting obstacles, and a single miniature TV camera. Dave Toddler wrote most of the software that ties it all together. Put me on for a spin.
What's this big square here?
So that's actually a representation of the back of the vehicle. You can see the vehicle and the two tires below it,
Yeah.
gray squares. And then below that, the two yellow markings that are dancing back and forth.
Yeah.
Those represent the where it believes the edges of the lane to be. Because we're on a parking lot right now, you don't actually, it's not finding any road, so those are sort of dancing around as it's hunting for the road ahead.
How about this red
Trapezoid?
trapezoid? Yes. I knew there was a word for it.
That's the portion of the scene ahead that the system is actually processing. So it isn't processing the whole image.
For computer vision systems, the real world is a mess. It's cluttered and complicated. So this system tries to make it simple. It takes just the central part of the picture shown in the road, and lets you some kind of structure. Right now, it's finding this series of intersections just as confusing as the parking lot. And then it settles down.
So right now we're in a fairly well-structured setting. There are lane boundaries on the side and dash marking down the middle. So the system is quite confident, and as you can see from the display, has locked on quite well to the lane center and the two lane boundaries.
So you would feel confident here letting the car go by itself?
For that stretch, yes. But here we come up to an intersection. There's a stoplight. In fact, this stoplight appears not to be working. That guy giving me hand signals that it's safe to go through the intersection is far beyond the kinds of stuff that any machine vision system is capable of.
Even so, the system is not entirely dumb.
The most interesting thing about the system is, in fact, is not explicitly tracking those lane markings. There isn't a hand-programmed lane marker detector in here. The system basically adapts to utilize whatever features are visible on the road ahead.
What other features would it track?
Things like what we see here, like the cracks in the road where they've been filled, the dark discolorations, even the slight discoloration down the lane center
The system works best in the simpler section of the highway. That's where I'm going to try it out with what they call warning mode. This is probably the way smart cars like this will first get into widespread use.
Now I'm going to deliberately drift here. I'm going to drift that way.
Yep. See what happens. Right as your tire crossed the lane boundary, it basically gave you the audible warning that there's something wrong here. You want to steer back towards the lane center.
Here I go again. Drifting.
The goal of this initially is to basically deploy it on trucks. They're where a large problem is with drowsy drivers.
We're getting down to one lane, and there's no stripe on the left. So it must just be reading the oil spots in the center.
The oil spots, and there is a slight seam, a crack in the road.
Oh, right, yeah.
The system is also seamed. So it will adapt what features it utilizes to the circumstance.
A little bit, yes, just a little bit.
So what I'm going to do now is change the mode now into a mode where we can automatically drive with it.
How many times have you done this? Done this a lot. 100 times.
Oh, man.
We rejoin the high-speed traffic on the highway.
So we can see the system has locked on to the road ahead.
Yeah.
So I will now hit the red button. Now it's steering on its own.
How fast are we going?
55, 57 miles per hour.
Well, this is not nearly as frightening as I thought it would be. I'll tell you what's more amazing is we've been chatting about this, and I've completely forgotten that you have your hands off the wheel. I can't get over that. Yeah, it's going around a curve now. It's great to see that wheel actually take the curve.
It's still up to the driver to apply the brakes, but in the future, the system will be able to handle that too.
Okay, now look, this car just pulled into our lane. Did we respond in any way to that?
The radar has located it. You can see the white line with the pink dot right in the middle of it.
Yeah.
That's indicating it's tracking it and knows it's in our lane.
At the same time, the system excludes the overtaking car from the red trapezoid, so the view of the lane ahead is not disrupted. 10 years ago, our cameras recorded some of Squiggles' early experiments. The first Nav Lab, as they called it, detected obstacles with a laser scanner. It worked as well as the radar in the latest version, but it was slow, like everything on that platform. Just like today's system, it combined obstacle detection with processed camera pictures. Its computers took 10 seconds to process each frame of picture, so it found the road and stayed on it, but in less than walking minutes. Today, the speed limit's no longer on the computers. It's in the law. There's not much doubt that we'll be riding in robotic cars before long. But is that really such a strange idea? How much are we controlled by computers now that we just accept without giving it too much thought?
The interesting thing is that probably 15, even 10 years ago, the view of robotics was you'd have a human-appearing servant in your house, for example, who would clean your dishes, make your bed in the morning. What's really happened in robotics is the technology has become embedded and really invisible. So there are a lot of things. Your microwave oven has a pretty sophisticated computer in it. So robotics is actually becoming less and less visible, but more and more prevalent through society. And that's what we see for this technology. This camera, just a few years ago, was a camera about this big and needed a big platform to sit on. But it's shrinking down, and eventually we hope to put everything in a box smaller than that and just stick it on the back of the rearview mirror, and the person won't even realize it's there until they begin to drift off the road and walk them and hopefully save their life.
Over 30 years ago, an engineer named Ralph Mosher, without benefit of computers, Mosher's walker translated his hand and foot motions into thrusters powered by hydraulic motors. Mosher's machine was eventually abandoned as impractical, but as well as inspiring the Imperial Walker, it also inspired this creation. A six-legged robot built in the mid-1980s at Ohio State University. 16 onboard computers make sure its center of gravity stays safely over its legs. Today, this four-ton monster is also in one pose, needing always to be in balance, made it simply too slow and cumbersome. But also in the mid-1980s, an entirely different type of walking machine was being pioneered at Carnegie Mellon University. In these machines, balancing was an active rather than passive process.
These machines balance the same as me balancing this broom on my finger. If I keep my finger under the body, it'll stay stationary. If I move my finger away, it'll tip towards me. If I move my finger towards me, the broom will tip away. If I want to make it fall towards me, I move my finger away.
Martin Rayford's offer had to keep moving to keep balance, but it could perform some spectacular tricks. Now, the two-legged hopper can bounce along without important study, and its gymnastics skills are even more impressive. Unlike people on the other hand, this biped can't simply stand still. It needs a lot of computing power to constantly figure out what it needs to do to stay on its feet. Is an attempt to much more closely mimic the way humans walk. Its creator, Tom Miller, has not only modeled its legs and feet on our own, but also the way it acquires its skills.
Our approach is to try and learn from past experiences and just remember what you've done in the past and how that worked, and then try and make control decisions for future actions.
In other words, his robot learns. And the first thing it learns every time it has to stand on its own two feet is how not to topple over. Easing its top-heavy body into a crouch, the robot, nicknamed Toddler, not only stands alone, but can even cope with some gentle nudging. Toddler's brain is kept safely on a nearby desk, while its knowledge about what's happening comes from force sensors in its feet, as well as balance and movement sensors in its torso.
The body of the biped has accelerometers on the front and side of the robot and gyroscopes which measure the rotation of the body of the robot. And that essentially gives it a sense of what its orientation is relative to the world.
Each time it's switched on, Toddler has to start from scratch.
Experimenting how far it'll lean right before it lifts its left leg. And you can see the knee flexes, it's trying to lift the left, and if it doesn't get off the ground, it gets stable again, and that leans a little farther. And the last time when it finally got off, you see it lean too far.
Miller hovers protectively as his robot experiments first with swinging from side to side while standing in place. With every sway, it's learning what works and what doesn't. Then, cautiously, it takes its first tiny steps.
It has very simple intuitions about how to walk. It knows to move side to side, and when it leans to one side, it should try and pick up the opposite foot. And then with learning, it's trying to adjust from one hand to the other. This process is somewhat like a toddler learning to walk. Just like a toddler, it needs an adult standing here to catch it when it makes mistakes.
Tom Miller's basic interest is in making machines that can learn from experience. And a robot that can walk on its own two feet is a perfect challenge for machine learning.
We programmed in evaluate its stability based on its sensors. So as it does these motions, you can evaluate that stable and then these modifications through its primitive action and of those modifications improve its stability over time. So then it remembers that and tries it again. Each time it tries to just continually on its senses.
Like all toddlers, this one still has a lot of learning to do before it can make its own way in the world. As for what a walking robot might be useful for, well, what did someone say? What use is a baby?
Hey, wake up.
Meet it, a robot that makes human-looking faces.
Sorry, can you say that again?
It is the creation of Rodney Brooks, a world-famous robot builder, and a professor at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology.
I get a little upset. Take with the focus.
Get too close to one of its infrared detectors, and you trigger an annoying-looking response.
If we opened its mouth, what a surprise.
Yeah, and then it right in the background, it's sort of this reaction. What's happening? You gotta wait for me.
Thanks to microphones in the head and motion detectors in the eye, it seems to follow the back and forth of your conversation. Usually it smiles, and there's a lot of activity going on.
It tries to appear to be a human so that we can interact with it in a way that's like a human. And it's meant to be a robot that you might interact with in an entertainment sort of thing, an amusement park or something like that.
Of course, it is far from human. But it does exhibit a certain lifelike behavior thanks to a programming technique Rod invented. Instead of giving his robots complex instructions, he uses layers of simple, fast programs which all run at the same time and work like reflexes. In Rod's famous instinct robots, each leg independently senses and lifts over obstacles, so these robots move quickly without doing a lot of thinking. Rod used this same idea in developing small autonomous rovers for NASA to send to Mars. And now he's attempting to build the most ambitious robot ever, a humanoid called Cog. The goal is for Cog to one day have the dexterity, intelligence, and understanding of a real human being. When I first met Cog 2 years ago, much of it was still in pieces on the laboratory bench waiting to be assembled. Cog is supposed to learn about the world the way a child does. Early in life, children don't know much of anything, not even how to coordinate their own limbs. Yet out of the desire to explore and experience the world comes knowledge.
By being a human shape and having the same arrangement of eyes, etc., it will encourage people to interact with it as though it was a human. And it will have the same sorts of experiences that a human has when a human develops in a human society with other humans interacting with it.
It's got two parts to each eye. What's that?
Well, that's much like humans have a wide-angle view of the world and a very foveal view. And if we come over here and look at the monitors and maybe learn a few
The
stuff.
fovea is the high-resolution central part of our eyes. In Cog's monitor bank, I can see both a close-up foveal view and a wide-angle one, corresponding to the two cameras in each eye. Cog needs both views to follow what's going on in the world.
Just like in your eyes, you're able to see things with that much detail off in the distance. If you see a ball coming in, you rapidly move your eyes over to see what's there, and then with your fovea, track where it is and go out and catch it.
Like humans, Cog must constantly shift its eyes to see the details of interesting objects. Rod built in the ability to analyze the wide-angle view and pick out motion, which shows up on this display as white arrows. Cog had to learn by trial and error how to actually move its eyes. To make Cog's vision system fast,
very distributed system. Without
Distributed meaning.
there's lots of little pieces, they've all evolved over time separately and are all running separately, and they don't even know about the other pieces that are going on there. They're doing their stuff, sending messages off to muscles or to the cerebellum and demanding things that happen, and maybe those things happen, maybe they don't, because maybe some other part of the brain gets control at that particular time.
Cog's neck is another piece of the robot that's controlled separately.
If the eyes look over there, and in your heart of hearts, you want the head to go where the eyes go, how do you get the head to get that information from the eyes and use it?
And they have another program that's sitting running, and it tries to always make the eyes be centered looking straight ahead. But the only control it has is control of the neck. So when the eyes are pointing over there, the only way it can make the eyes be centered in the head is to turn the neck, because that's the only thing that particular program has control of.
Cog's neck will also be controlled by a second program, one that reproduces the human reflex to turn toward the source of sound. Just like with babies, being able to focus on where a sound comes from should help Cog find the interesting sounds around it, and eventually to understand them.
Look at the hand here.
Cog will also be able to experience the world through touch.
This is a three-fingered and one-thumbed hand. Here's the thumb, and here are the three fingers of the left hand. And we've got just a little piece of skin attached to that finger there, so it's touch sensitive and it moves when we touch it. And we just programmed to do that. Why don't you touch it and see if you can make it move? Okay, it felt good, and now it's going to go around and try and grab the object that's feeling that.
So it's sort of programmed now to grab what it feels pressure on.
Just with that one little finger, eventually, as we finish building this hand, we'll have the fingers completely wrapped with this touch-sensitive material.
Yet another independent computer will control Cog's sense of touch.
There's a circuit board which will be here and will be processing all of these.
It will sit inside Cog's hand so that touch information can be processed right on the spot.
The human, of course, has spine, makes a lot of decisions for us. It doesn't go all the way back up our neck to our brain, but because there's just not enough time to get your hand out of a burning fire or your foot out of a burning fire.
You haven't got time to decide to. It's got to come out.
So there's not enough time for the message to travel up your leg, then all the way up your brain, and then all the way back down. So as soon as it gets to the base of the spine, that makes the decision to lift your leg up real quick. Here's the arm, and you can see it sort of matches up the left arm of the human here.
The more I learned about Cog, the more I appreciated how closely it had been modeled after humans.
And it's got an elbow, and a shoulder, and a wrist.
Of course, robot arms used in factories bend and twist compared to the same freedom as the human counterparts. The people on Cog didn't think it was faster than people on road.
That's a robot arm in the factory. If you tell the robot arm to straighten out to be 85 degrees, it starts moving and it hits an obstacle here, and there's a feedback loop, and it realizes it's not getting to 85 degrees, so it starts sending more forceless blows and pushes harder and harder. That's made of metal and you're made of flesh, and it will just plow right through the middle of you.
By installing a metal strip between each motor and the joint it moves, Rod has in effect put springs all over the arm.
Piece of solid metal, so it'll
Give. As soon as it gets to my chest, it'll start giving.
It's not giving, but then we do something clever. Grab hold of the arm.
As I twist the arm, I notice its resistance varies.
Okay, now there's more resistance.
The arm's computer can adjust the resistance, so it can be rigid like a factory robot for hammering a nail, or springy for interacting with people. 2 years after first visiting Cog, we returned for a progress report. The arm was now mounted with a temporary hand, and Rodney set the robot's memory back to 0 to show us how Cog had been learning. For this demonstration, he'll have Cog reach for a hockey puck. First, Rodney checks to be sure Cog can see the puck. With its wide-angle camera, Cog has the puck in view, far to the right. The motion detection system picks up the movement and commands the eyes to shift, putting the puck on the close-up screen. Cog is focusing on his target well, so now it's time to try reaching for it.
I mean, it's just a matter
to learn by trial and error.
Right now, it doesn't know how to move its arm. Move its arm out towards what it saw, then sees where its arm ended up and sees that it's wrong. And so it learns that it should move it slightly differently. And slowly over time, it's going to get better and better at reaching towards the thing that it's seen. Babies take a few months to do this well. Dog takes a few hours, so not quite as well as babies.
Sure enough, Todd reaches for the puck perfectly after practicing just a few hours. If Todd can keep learning like this, as more parts are added, who knows how far it can go.
What's the picture in your head now? What do you think of when you think of a mature cog? A cog that has reached some point where you can say, that's our cog.
What I really see is a Starfleet officer out there, being a commander, a lieutenant commander on a Starfleet vessel.
Starfleet vessel. So first you got to get these robots to build the vessel, I guess, because it's already pretty advanced.
A few details.
So you see him, what does that mean? Does that mean you actually have the fantasy of a bunch of your robots getting in a spaceship and traveling for 1,000 years out into the galaxies?
I have a fantasy of being able to build a human-level equivalent robot which is able to operate in the world in the way we operate. And maybe even better than we can, eventually.
Dawn in Atlanta. And competitors, many exhausted from working all night, are gathering at Georgia Tech for a contest that has never been won. It's a contest between flying robots. Here's the task. With no one at the controls, each robot must take off from one corner of a 60 by 120 foot field, then find and fly to a ring containing 6 metal discs. Still without human control, it must pick up the discs one at a time and carry them over a 3-foot barrier to a second ring where the discs are deposited. In 5 years of competition, no robot has even come close to completing the mission. First on the field this year is a blimp from the Technical University of Berlin, Germany. Have you tried this out on a field back home?
Yeah, but inside.
Inside?
It's working very well inside. We still have some problems with the ring.
Like all the robots here, once it starts, it's on its own.
Okay, leave it, and now we are autonomous. Hey! We are autonomous.
And at once, the Berlin blimp demonstrates why the contest is so difficult, especially for blimps. Its 6 battery-powered propellers try hard to steer it toward the ring, but the gentle dawn breeze wafts it away. Has it lost control? You think it's... As Marion dashed off to help rescue her balloon, I sought out the contest organizer, Rob Mickelson. What do you think happened there?
They had the props going as hard as they could down, and they were able to catch it before it went into the power lines. But that's the problem with the blimp.
Taking a radically different tack is the next robot. This is the 5th consecutive year the University of Texas at Arlington has entered what amounts to a flying propeller. Just from your previous year's experience, what's it like once you throw the switch and the thing starts to go on its own? You can't do anything. It's all the work you put into it matters, but you can't do anything at that point.
This year, different from the previous years, I'm really, really nervous because this is the closest we've ever been.
The first year of the contest, the Texas tail sitter was one of the few machines even to get off the ground. Briefly. Last year, after 3 years of improving its control systems, the tail sitter flew beautifully. The problem was still the landing.
First thing I need you to show me is how your emergency setup.
This year, the contest judges are taking no chances. They want to see the emergency setup first thing.
I want to see your emergency procedures.
I want to see the emergency procedures, too. I'll be over here. What had caught my attention was what looked like a giant inflatable pig. It turned out to be another blimp. This one from the University of British Columbia.
You tried to take over the first time.
We were flying earlier. What we're going to try is a manual flight just to see that our system's working, which they don't.
The engine got fixed, but the navigation system involving a video camera watching the size and shape of the black spots got confused by a glint of sunlight, and the Canadian robot waltzed off the field. Meanwhile, last year's best performer, a helicopter from the University of Southern California, was also having a bad morning.
We crashed last night about 4 in the morning. It was flying great. Things were looking good. We could have repeated as champs. We crashed, and something mechanically is wrong with the craft. It's not functioning right.
Can you get it positioned?
Despite improvised repairs
Start again.
and last-minute adjustments, the USC copter simply couldn't get off the ground.
You look at this, you think, geez, you go pick up a dish, you carry it across the barrier and drop it off. That's so simple. What's the problem? But they don't realize that, what's very easy for humans is much more difficult for robots. You have sensing problems. You have to deal with disturbances such as wind and such, and it's not a very trivial problem at all. It just shows you just how flexible and adaptive humans are. There you go.
I really like this little device designed to pick up the discs dangling from its helicopter. Whoa! That works really smoothly. The problem was it wasn't quite so smooth once its helicopter was carried. But now the Texas tail sitter was taking off, guided by scanning laser beams. It seemed to be flying very nicely, but it made no attempt to go pick up any discs. Everyone seemed very pleased when it landed without toppling over. I was a bit puzzled by all the excitement.
What happened? That was a completely autonomous flight, and we took off, hovered, and landed completely autonomously.
That's world history for this competition. That's the first time that's ever been done in this competition, and I've been here for 5 years.
We're pumped now. The next step is a disc.
But now Stanford University was taking the field. These guys looked like pros, and they had a navigation system to prove it, employing the Defense Department's Global Positioning Satellite System. What is that thing over there?
That is a GPS antenna. That is our ground station. That GPS antenna sees satellites in the sky, and we basically fly to that reference station. We have 4 of those little antennae on board the helicopter. And the thing that's neat about this is that with this new GPS technology, we're able to tell you where each one of these little antennae is to within a centimeter.
A centimeter?
A centimeter.
Once the helicopter locked onto the satellite,
The flashing red lights on the back of the helicopter means that everything's working.
the Stanford robot took off without a hitch.
Computer control like that.
And unlike the other teams, it didn't bother with preliminaries.
Are you just going for autonomous flight now, or are you going to try to go over again?
We're going to try to pick up a disc right now. We're flying the whole trajectory.
To pick up a disc, the machine simply trolls with a magnet.
We're close. Now it goes into a search pattern, so there'll be a little random motion here where we'll try to drag it around, hoping to bump onto a disc.
It looked to me as if the helicopter was flying too low to drag the magnet around the whole circle. I found myself making an acute observation.
The problem here is that you need to make the string shorter.
Maybe high-tech solution. Bring a little bit short. Oh, they got one.
The robot had finally got a disc, but then it picked up another one, and that's against the rules. But the Stanford team still had plenty of time. For the Texas team, though, time was running out, and their tail sitter was heading the wrong way.
4 minutes, guys.
Think quickly.
What are you trying to come up with?
We're just trying to adjust for that as the instruments warm up.
But the drift problem affecting the tail sitter proved unfixable. At least this year, the Texas robot didn't scatter itself across the field. The German team was also coming down to the wire.
You got up just barely. You have to be up off the ground before you leave that square.
Sailing serenely and autonomously, the blimp headed in the right direction.
Oh, it's close, it's close. Look at this, look at this.
Only to overshoot. gets a little calm air, we'll be able to settle into that. Oh, no. Inside. 45 seconds left. Good job. The blimp had begun its day battling the breezes. 20 seconds. And it was the breeze that finally defeated it.
I think one could see that we could manage with a little luck and with less wind.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, Dave. Try it.
Another blimp was having similar problems. But this one, with a distinctly homemade look, turned out to be the work not of a college team, but of students from the Thomas Wooten High School in Rockville, Maryland. When you have school to worry about, how much of your day can you spend on this?
Oh, we would spend until midnight. A lot. We would spend 5-6 hours a night on it. And, I mean, that bag, everything here is homemade. We didn't buy anything, bought. I'm going.
The wind is too strong for you, huh?
Just a slight wind throws everything on. With a blimp, at least. That's why a lot of these colleges don't want helicopters. Yeah. And you can see the other two blimps had the same problems we did.
Under direct radio control, the high school blimp wasn't even trying to fly autonomously.
You're in. Now, okay. Concentration. It's not working, Mr. Bassett.
But just by being here and flying, the Thomas Wooten students have led the contest organizers to consider a high school version of the contest in the future.
What is that?
What do you think you've learned here?
The biggest thing I've learned is that, even though we're a high school team, we can overcome whatever challenge we need to overcome. It's amazing. I came here thinking, wow, we're out of our league. And coming to see that they have the same problems we do, it's kind of relief,
Yeah. Gives you confidence.
Right.
All you have to do is...
The high schoolers had devised from a cylinder and a magnet a clever device for picking up and dropping the discs. A system that made Stanford's method for snagging discs look primitive.
How much do we want to shorten this string?
About half a meter?
Is that what you
But now that they'd taken my advice and shortened their string, Stanford took off again. The helicopter, all on its own, did everything it could to complete its mission. But the one thing its designers didn't have time to include was a way to drop the disc once it had reached its target. Ironically, what they planned to use was a device using a magnet and a cylinder. Using that cylinder seems to be the way that the high school team solved that problem, too.
It's almost an identical solution to the high school team. I was looking at that earlier, and they've got a real neat little system, and it's the same kind of an idea that we have.
Is that as well as that's ever been done?
That's the best it's ever been done in the history of the competition. And if they just had an intelligent device to let go of the doggone thing, they would have totally completed the mission.
In the final scores, the Texas tail sitter took third place. The Berlin blimp was second. And the Stanford helicopter, so close to completing the mission, came in first. Visit us online. Scientific American frontiers can be found on the World Wide Web at the address on our screen.
Presentation of Scientific American Frontiers is made possible by a GTE Corporation. For a transcript of this program, send $5 to Scientific American Frontiers, 70 Coolidge Hill Road, Watertown, Massachusetts, 02172. Be sure to specify which episode you'd like.